Which car mod instantly lets you know someone is an absolute menace to society?
Oh, 100% is exhaust. It's got to be.
I agree, but why do you say it's the exhaust?
I mean, I think about what like a standard car sounds like, or a very pedestrian muscle car, right, with a factory exhaust, and then I think about like I used to have a GT350 and it had stainless works headers on it and high flow cats, and the thing could hit nearly like 103 decibels of wide open throttle.
Oh yeah, I mean,
And,
well you've heard my Corvette too. I've
oh yeah,
never done a sound measurement on it. I should probably do that because
yeah, you should.
like I wonder what that would be. Because that I mean, it is a very loud car, but I try to drive it to where I'm not being obnoxious, but I know that the car is loud by itself. There's no getting around it. The car is just, wow. I mean, it is
Yeah,
what it is. But I bought it for that reason. I bought it not because it's loud, but because it sounds good.
exactly. And when you have a car like that, you it's all about the experience. It's about the visceral feeling that the car gives you, and it there's nothing wrong with inciting a little disturbing the peace driving your car.
Right.
You know,
Okay.
that's kind of the bad boy attitude of a muscle car to begin with. So
Facts. I mean, you can't really argue with that lineage or the history associated with like your
yeah,
car being aggressive. Okay, and I have one more question for you.
yeah, let's
Okay.
do
What is the worst car to get pulled over in, and why is it always a modified Honda Civic?
it. I mean, it's funny you say that. I would have said like a Dodge Neon,
I mean, I feel like
like a
that's equally terrible.
like a Dodge Neon's and especially if it's not like an SRT4 Neon, right? If it's just like a
Yeah,
base model Neon, you're
just a
rocking like
beater.
the like the single overhead cam ride that has like 400,000 miles on it, and it's
Right.
like mostly rust colored. Maybe you got a little green paint left because most of them were green, and then you're driving down the road, you get pulled over in that. You're like, man, just don't even look at me. Just give me a ticket. It's
Right.
okay.
Don't even
I,
say
I need
nothing
to
to
get
me,
out off the
officer.
road.
Yeah, don't say anything to me, officer. Just tap on my window, hand me the paper that says disrespect, and let me be on my way.
It probably, honestly, you know what it probably says on the back if you flip it over? It probably says, "I'm sorry,"
Oh my gosh.
because I bet they feel that bad. I would.
I
If I
would
pulled that
too.
over, I'd be like, man, this
What's
dude
that?
just needs a hug.
What was that Dodge car that replaced the Neon? It was like it was short, it was stubby, it was like a hatchback. And
The
somebody was asking me about this the other day and I couldn't remember the
Nitro.
name. It was the Nitro. No, that was the SUV. That was
Okay.
like the midsize. That was like the midsize crossover, whatever, like Jeep looking. It replaced the Neon. It was the. I keep wanting to call it the Rally, but I feel like that's not what it's called.
So
It looked like the Avenger in the front.
I I thought the initial launch for the replacement, they tried to make it the Nitro. It didn't work because, like you said, like it's not the same. It was this bigger SUV thing. It
Mm-hmm.
was kind of like a Jeep Liberty kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, we can't really do this, so they made a rendition of the Dodge Dart.
Well, the car that I'm referencing, they made an SRT4 version of it.
I have to fact check this now because I could have swore it was the Nitro.
Oh my God, you might be right. But anyway, let's get into it. Yo, what up, T3P family? I'm your host, Bryce Thompson, and you're watching Torque Tech and Trade, where we talk about cars, culture, industry, and straight vibes. Today, I have my good friend with me, RJ, who has a wealth of experience. RJ, say what's up.
Hey, what up, everyone?
Yo, today we're going to talk about his experience, um, being a private dealer and his experience working at a car company right now called Verus. He can explain a little bit more about that. So go ahead and give us a little teaser.
Yeah. So, what up, everyone? RJ Armentrout, lifelong car junkie, definitely a motorsport addict. Um, definitely started early too. My dad owns a small car dealership where I'm from in Western Colorado. When I turned 18, I thought it would be the logical next step to try to work for him, start selling cars, and from there kind of took off into different ventures. Helped him with his smaller brokerage. He used to run that out of the dealership. I would help him find cars, and we would find anything from a Dodge Nitro SRT4 all the way to like all the way to like, if someone was looking for an exotic car, I think probably the fastest thing I've ever driven is probably like a 720S McLaren,
Oh my gosh.
like a 488 Pista.
Dude,
Uh,
you're gonna
but
make me. I mean, the 720S. I want that car so bad. I want it
oh,
so bad. That was that. So you know the clothing company 8080, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that was the only time. The only time I entered in one of those contests when they had that McLaren 720S. I wanted it more than I wanted to live in my own house. I was like, I need this car. I think if I remember correctly, it was orange. It was beautiful. It was
Yeah.
gorgeous. No other car looks like that. And I was just like, please. And then you're sitting here telling me that you drove one. Okay, what was that like?
It's incredible. So, like, first off, you get into them and you're driving a car like that, and it feels special because if you're a real car nut, you've seen these cars on Top Gear, you've seen them on Fifth Gear, you see them all over YouTube, you see
Right.
reels on them, and you're driving this car and you're thinking, man, like, I'm actually sitting in this, I'm actually feeling this and hearing this right now, and then you start driving it around like the streets every day, and it starts to feel like something that you can live with every day, which
How
is
long did
wild.
you have it?
So we had the McLaren for probably three
Oh
weeks,
my gosh.
and the prospective buyer that we had bought it for said, "Yeah, I'd love for you guys to actually road test it, take it out, drive it." And at the time, I was living and working in Atlanta, and the car scene in Atlanta is huge, off the chain.
Okay.
So I would just drive it to work, drive it to the store. Like, I'm
Oh
gonna go
my
to I'll go to
goodness.
pull up to Publix in the 720S, and or pull up to the gym. And people, that it definitely would get stares because it's very striking, right? I wouldn't say it's like a beautiful car, but it's very striking. Like when you park it next to a Corvette, like you can tell there's something different about it.
Oh
There, the,
yeah. Yeah.
the dimensions are different. It's got a really long tail to it,
Hmm.
um, and it doesn't feel wild until you blip the throttle in like third gear and let it rip, and then you're like, okay, now I know why this is a supercar. And
Yeah.
then you start ripping down the interstate, and you're just like, okay, now I know why this is a supercar.
Dude, I want that experience. I mean, with that car specifically, like I want that experience so bad because I mean, you said it's not beautiful, but I do have to disagree. I think that car is a masterpiece. Like there is just nothing about it that doesn't make me turn my head every time I see it. It's magnificent. But okay, so digging more into your car dealer experience, like what are some things that you've noticed about being a private dealer that you think other people might be interested in? Like what about that versus working at a dealership is intriguing?
So I think just like anyone looking to do something for themselves, the cool thing about being an auto broker is you can kind of set your own schedule, work on your own terms. You're looking for things that people want, but at the same time you're looking for things that also interest you and excite you. I think that if you're in any sales, if you're really passionate about the product that you're selling and you're really all in for it, I think something like an automotive broker, you can really go out there and live the dream and find some incredible cars. And honestly, the market is really ripe with a lot of supercars. I don't think we've ever had time in history where so many high horsepower cars are built and then manufactured on a mass scale.
Yeah.
Like, you can find R8s pretty easy from
Oh yeah.
Audi,
Yeah.
Lamborghini Huracans,
Yeah. A
all of
quick search
them.
on Facebook Marketplace will brighten your day.
How wild is that? You can find it on Facebook Marketplace. You get on Facebook, you hit Marketplace, type in AMG GTS, and all of a sudden you're looking at a two-door Mercedes supercar for anywhere between 55 to 145, depending on what vintage and nameplate it has on it. Like you can really get some serious cars on Marketplace now.
Honestly, that's really insane. I mean, is that how you find most of your cars?
That's one of the ways. So the other way, as a broker, you can actually set up, most states at least will allow you to set it up as a business LLC with a floor plan. So if you get a floor plan, you can actually go to private auto auctions, and depending on what the company is that you have your floor plan through and your auction plan through, a lot of times you can find cars like that going through auction. You buy them on a 30, 60, or 90-day float, and there you go. Your floor plan actually finances your vehicle.
That's not like Mecum auctions, is it?
No, no. So this would be more like wholesale dealer auctions. So if you've ever heard of anything like Mannheim or Odessa,
Hmm.
that would be more of like your floor plan. I don't believe that Mecum or Barrett Jackson carry that kind of floor
Right.
plan. They do have financing available. Now that's going to be for specialty cars, and that's going to be definitely for like a specialty clientele.
Okay. Okay. Got you. Okay. Switching gears here a little bit. I heard you say Mannheim. So the Mannheim Index, for people who don't know, is basically just a metric for measuring how the used car market is being priced. Um, and your experience with being both an independent broker, car broker, and then it being also car dealing or just car sales being in your family. I wanted to ask you about the used car market, right?
Yeah,
According to Yahoo Finance, we know that the used cars are going up in price. They have a higher inflation rate than new cars. Not by
yeah.
much, but there is a difference. So why do you think used cars have a higher inflation rate than newer cars? And I guess to add to that question, do you think it's because newer cars aren't being sold as quickly? Because more and more cars are sitting on the lots longer. What are your thoughts about that?
So it's interesting that you bring that up because I think that trend really started in 2020
Hmm.
when newer cars weren't being manufactured, whether it be employees were furloughed or the countries they were being manufactured in were sheltering in place based on all of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right.
Um, the other thing was just a shortage in chips, a shortage in circuit boards. So many new cars run more on a circuit board than they do an internal combustion engine anymore.
Right.
Like the engine's almost an afterthought in most passenger cars. So um, because those cars are so heavily embedded with technology, and there was such a backlog of cars, a great example like the Corvette when it first came out, the values for a new Corvette were through the roof. And it
Right.
wasn't just because the new Corvette was what it was the new Corvette. It was a mid-engine car. It's like the first true, like exotic esque kind of sports car that they had built under the Corvette moniker.
Right.
The car itself just didn't get manufactured at the rate that it needed to be popular, and the cost was through the roof. The cost is significantly lower now. It's dropped like from here to like here,
Right.
and just
I remember
here.
when it came out. Well, first, I remember when they announced it. It was on TV. I think it was like a Super Bowl commercial or something like that. But
Yeah,
the first I heard about it, they were saying that it was MSRP at $50,000, which first off is insane for a mid the only mid engine Well, they had a mid-engine concept Corvette, but we're not going to get into that. The only produced mid-engine Corvette, or supercar, whatever you want to call it, right? On the and coming out of Detroit, and that price was nuts. And then as soon as it hits the streets, right? Like as soon as I see one on the street, I'm like, okay, now I got to look up the price, and they're going for 150,000. This is what, 2020. This is
Yeah.
because I think they started hitting the lots like early 2020, like before the pandemic really set in and people's lives started to change. I think like that's when they started to like actually hit the streets. And yeah, when everything shut down, I mean, I saw a crazy spike. But I agree with you. I mean, I think that's like all cars though, like at least anymore. Um, but the
It's
cars that I do see like sitting higher than where they need to be, in particular, I'm switching gears here. We can get back on track in a second, but like
well, you're good.
like pickup trucks. For
Yeah.
whatever reason, pickup trucks are just scaling the ladder in terms of price for no reason. A lot of these newer trucks have four cylinders in them. I'm
Hmm.
not buying a truck. I mean, I realize that they're these turboed four cylinders. They have a whole lot of torque. They're very capable, right? But they're younger on the market, and they're also younger in terms of like the pickup truck like being used in that way. So there's no long term evidence of like how reliable those trucks are. And like the more I get on these forums and things like that, I'm starting to see them be like unreliable. But that is not making the price come down at all. And the Corvette, like you said, that price has came. I mean, it's not cheap, but like it has came down.
Yeah.
So
It's normalized itself, right? It's
right.
no longer out of control, and I think a lot of that comes back to um, the newness is worn off a little bit. It's 5 years old, almost
Hmm.
6 years old now, and you can find them on the used market.
Oh yeah, without
And
a
the
problem.
used market, a lot of them have been modified.
Hmm.
Maybe they have nice wheels. Maybe they have a modified suspension. Most of them,
Hmm.
back to exhausts. Most of them have been modified with some kind of killer exhaust
Right.
system. And the LT1 sounds so good when you uncork it. It sounds so good.
Oh yeah.
So
Wait, that's the Z06, right?
that's the Z51, the standard
Oh,
stinger.
okay.
Yeah. Then the Z06, just, I mean, from the factory sounds like a Ferrari. If you put
Oh
a like a
yeah.
Fab exhaust on it or an Akrapovic exhaust on it, it
Hmm.
sounds wicked.
There's
Sounds like an
this white one that drives around where I live, and every time I hear it, I'm just like, dude, the fact that you're not going past me, at least going like 60 miles an hour, just so your RPMs can be up a little bit, is
yeah,
insane. Because I feel like I'd be going like 50 miles an hour just riding in third gear, because it's like I needed to sit at like 5,000 RPM just so I can hear that car whine,
hundred
because it's
percent.
gorgeous.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible to see what we've been able to do in the United States and in sports cars.
Well,
Like,
the thing is, I feel they've known how to do it, but I feel like, especially General Motors, General Motors has like this huge hesitancy to listen to the consumer. It seems,
mhm.
right? Like people have been complaining about their interiors for years,
Yeah,
um, and it just still kind of seems like even with the newer one, right? Like I love the new dashboard on like a lot of these new Chevy trucks and like SUVs. It looks great, but for the
yeah,
most part, it's kind of standard. And then all of a sudden, they'll do something insane. So like the Corvette threw the engine, like made a mid-engine car. That's fantastic. Thank you for doing that. But then we have the Escalade IQ with this beautiful dashboard that is absolutely insane. And I know it's going to make Mercedes step their game up, right? But
yeah,
the rest of the car is kind of just like, oh, it's still like it's still
yeah.
General Motors.
It's
And
like
then
a really, really bougie Tahoe.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's gorgeous. It
it's
is
beautiful.
like the new body style for the Escalade. Every time I saw it, every time like I would ride past one on the street, I would always say that car just looks presidential. Like there's something about the Escalade that is just money. Like it's so top dog. But but like, and I mean, I guess that's like General Motors listening to the consumer a little bit, like giving them what they want. But when it comes to like the way the car, like the way you interact with the car, right? Because you don't spend all your time outside of the car. You spend, like, when you're interacting with the car, you're in the car, you're driving the car. Like the creature comforts that are in there, General Motors is kind of lacking in that area. Ford is like this middle ground, right? But I think Chrysler or Dodge, or maybe not Dodge, like Chrysler and Ram in particular, have the best interiors that I've seen. And I am not a fan of Chrysler or Ram or Dodge. I just can't. I mean, sure, the ACR Viper, but we're not putting that in this category, are we?
No,
Okay.
no, that's a different car.
Yeah.
A Viper is technically not a car; it's just an engine with a seat.
Facts. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
rocket. Okay, so back to like cars on dealership lots though.
yeah.
Why do you think and like aside, like pandemic aside, right? Why do you think these cars are sitting on these lots and breaking record, like the average time now is like 500 days, where before or pre-pandemic, I think on the long end it was like 200.
So there's a couple of things I think that go into it. New cars are still wildly expensive compared to most used cars.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was looking at this for someone the other day, and we were talking new Audi Q7s.
Mm-hmm.
And the Q7, for those that don't know, is the largest SUV that Audi makes, next to the Q8. I think the Q8's the same size, but the Q8 has a shorter roof. It's a little more sporty.
Mm-hmm.
But the Q7's kind of like the ultimate mom mobile SUV, right? Very comfortable, very very lavish.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a well maintained 2017 to 2018 Q7 that's one owner with low-ish miles, like we're talking like 45 to 70,000 miles on it,
Yeah,
for like 18 to $22,000.
that's not bad.
No, no, it's a steal. When I tell you how much the new one is, you'll be like, yeah, I would look at the
Right.
28,
Oh yeah,
because the
for
new
sure.
one's like 79 to 87 for a premium plus trim, which is like mid-level, what you usually find on a dealership floor. Like they usually don't buy the premium trim. Audi premium trim is usually base model.
Mm-hmm.
Premium plus is like that middle of the rotor, which is really nice, nicer stereo. Maybe has real leather instead of like the whatever Audi calls it, like MB Tech style Mercedes fake leather. Um, it holds up incredibly well. It's just not the real thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then they make the prestige model, and you're looking at a six-figure SUV
For
to
no
get.
reason. I mean, just for some slight upgrades, because a lot
Yeah,
of these manufacturers are just doing things that look good, but on their bottom dollar, it's
yeah,
hardly a change, and you're paying a crazy premium. Not only that, to mention, you were saying like the 2017 or 2018 compared to what the new one costs. It's like cars really have, in my opinion, and again, not the Corvette, but cars really have not changed
no.
that much since that era of car, like 2017 and beyond. I really haven't seen like, oh man, this is a huge step forward. Like, for example, like cars used to all have some basic head unit that you could just swap out, go to
Yep.
Best Buy, pick whatever radio you wanted, just throw it in there. Now, and really kind of like 2020, really like 2014 and beyond, right? They've
Yeah.
a lot of these manufacturers have like been, hey, we're gonna make our own head unit, this is what it is, you can try to replace it, but it's gonna be a pain.
And
And
it's not worth it usually
no,
anymore either,
no.
because they develop the dynamics of whatever the sound is going to sound like specifically for that car, and with speakers that may or may not be able to be swapped out because they change amplifiers, and like they and I think that that's part of what makes new cars so unappealing, is they've made them just very static.
You
There's
can't
no
do
dynamic
anything.
to it anymore.
You're trapped to the manufacturer's design where you weren't before. And,
Yeah,
going back to what I was saying, like if you have a car with a pretty boring or mundane interior and, the head unit is one of those things that can make it better, and you're not able to change that, then that also sucks. But okay, I'll give them a pass, right? These new cars have very, very nice head units. Speaker technology has gotten better, but they
sure.
are kind of putting that industry like to bed, right? Like even if you go to Best Buy, like you don't really see like Best Buy tucks that part of their store in the back now. Like you have to go looking for that, and they don't have anywhere near as many options as they used to. Like when I was a kid, I'd go in there and I'd be like, "Yo,
Yeah,
like we are really about to pimp this ride." And they would have installers. Like you'd see cars going in and out of the back of the store all day long. None of that now. It's like I don't even know if they hire for that or they install those things. Like they install those products anymore.
it's funny because I like for my own personal car buying journey, I'm not a huge fan of new cars.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for a lot of what we're talking about, I don't feel like they're very dynamic anymore when it comes to like what you can do, the malleability of the car, the tunability of the car. I think that there's a lot of incredible cars out there today that like out of the box are wilder than anything I would have imagined 10 to 15 years ago. With that being said, make sure that you buy it exactly how you want it if it's new, because there may not be a way to do much to it. And I went to a Best Buy with my 2015 Volkswagen GTI. I found one here in Indianapolis that
Mm-hmm.
actually will install speakers. They still have
Really?
a bay. It's an Avon. If anyone's looking, there you go. There's the secrets out
Okay.
now.
There you
Maybe
go.
it's going to come back. Fingers crossed. But like they still install. They said that there were 3 locations in all of Indiana that
That
did that.
install?
There's 3 locations that
Mm.
install, 2 of which are Indianapolis or Indianapolis adjacent, and then one of them is all the way up in South Bend,
Wow.
which
Wow.
is wild. But it's just they said the same thing. So it's a dying art. Like they were really excited that they actually had someone come in and ask for what they did that day, because I've been looking to put a couple of speakers in my car, and I thought, maybe my total Best Buy membership or whatever they call it, maybe that would actually like help me get the hookup on speaker installs. It didn't, but
Yeah. Now it's all about putting a new screen on your phone because you dropped it like an idiot. But shifting gears here, like it sucks that cars are becoming less modifiable and just more expensive overall, and we're trapped to do
yeah.
what it is that they want us to do.
Hmm.
But you work at Verus, and you guys specialize in creating parts um, that are specifically engineered to change your car. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what is Verus about? What do you guys do? What do you do at Verus? And
Yeah.
anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I'd love to share some. So I am the sales and brand manager at Verus Engineering. So what I do is I work with our dealer network, both domestically and internationally. I run all of our business to consumer um, facing sales, help implement new strategies for the website, marketing strategies to reach out to customers, whether that be with the help of social media, whether that be the help of like email marketing. So I basically, if you hear from Verus Engineering for some reason, because you were on our site, you're looking at some parts for your car, or whether you were on the internet watching some of our videos and some of our content, check us out on YouTube. And like if you're watching anything like that, like a lot of the ads, a lot of those pieces, that's what I have my hands in. We we don't see ourselves as automotive manufacturer as much as we see ourselves as engineering problem solvers. So we take a lot of today's modern platforms and we find a way to optimize them, whether that be with splitters, wings, diffusers, various modifications that may help your engine run cleaner. If you're going to drive your car really hard, we make some really killer air to oil separators, oil cooler kit for the Mark V Supra. And we try to hone in on performance cars that are offered today that, as we've been talking about, have fewer and fewer weaknesses compared to what they used to have,
Mm-hmm.
but they still have things that we can optimize. And that's really what we do. We do that for, it's like 13 platforms total, based on some very very small offerings with hood louvers, and maybe some dive planes, rear diffuser, all the way up to a Supra where you can get into an aero kit that produces, you know, 3 to 4 times the downforce of a factory car, and be able to drive that and keep your warranty.
Right. And you've put some Verus products on your GTI, right?
I'm working on it actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's funny that you ask that, because this year I'm looking to, with what we're talking about here and many other conversations you and I have had, and many conversations I've had with some people in the industry. I feel like there's a push to um, say that track driving is very expensive, modifying your car is very expensive, and I'm actually trying to buck that trend this year and start a vlog that is going to show people that you can have a really awesome track car, and if you have some ingenuity, and some know-how, you can actually build a great car on a budget. So that GTI is going to be that car, and it's going to have some Verus Engineering parts. So I don't want to give away what kind of parts, but there's going to be some pretty sweet parts for sure.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that because I know you're going to tell me about it.
For
And when
sure.
you do those things, we'll have to get you back on here so you can talk about them because I'm sure people are going to want to know. Um,
100%.
can you tell us anything about like some of the Verus project cars? Like I've seen one
Oh, sure.
at Cars and Coffee. Can you maybe talk about that and like the parts that Verus produced or machined and like put on those cars and like
Yeah.
why it's special? Because you never know. Like somebody may want to buy some of those products for their own car if the
Yeah,
platform
100%.
matches.
So I'll actually talk about the project car that got me into Verus Engineering. So I actually started as a customer. I had a Shelby GT350,
Mm-hmm.
and
Great car.
beautiful car, highly capable. One of the last, to me, one of like the last real driver's cars that's been built. Very very engaging, really snappy throttle response. Voodoo engine is incredible. It's a really good track platform too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for parts that would further my performance both on and off track, because it was my daily car. At Verus, we make an underbody panel kit for the car that cleans up airflow and at the same time can help you with some fuel mileage, which if you have a really thirsty V8 powered muscle car, if you can gain any kind of gas mileage, you're all right with that, especially if it doesn't lose performance, it gains performance.
Yeah.
But the really trick piece that got me into it, and I think one of the things that Verus is most proud of, again, being problem solvers that we are, um, Ford never closed off the front wheel wells of any of the S550 Mustangs. So, like the GT350 just has these wide open, gaping holes in the rear wheel wells. And if you really get enough speed built up, you can actually start to disrupt like the traction of your front end, and start to move it around, because there's so much turbulent air flying around underneath your car up front. So we built a
Jeez.
fender evacuation kit that closes those off. And then all of
Very
a sudden,
useful. So it seems
yeah, for
that's
sure.
a
To me, it's
lifesaver.
like, Ford, why didn't you guys do this from the factory, right?
Right.
Like this, and ours looks like, if you weren't looking for our logo on it, you would never know that it's an aftermarket part. We built it to seamlessly integrate to look just like an OEM part.
Mhm.
And it was a total game changer for my car. I put on a whole stage one kit on my car, and I was able to drop my lap times at Atlanta Motorsports Park and at Barber Motorsports Park by like a second and a half, which is a lot
Jeez.
given that I added like some diffuser strakes, some underbody panels, some dive planes, some vortex generators. Just showed you how capable the car was. I think the cool thing about our project cars is, especially cars like our Shelby GT350 project, our Supra project, um, we have some BMW projects coming soon. Um, it shows the capability of what the factory built to begin with, and it maximizes that. And it does that without having to worry about tuning your engine, without voiding your warranty. It just makes the car fast and fun. It's just a fun hobby.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds great. And, that being a place to work, you being one of the biggest enthusiasts I know you're loving every single day there. One, you were a customer, and two, you know all the ins and out about all of this stuff. So, it is really interesting. Like every time I get to talk to you about this, because I learned something new. And like what you were saying about the GT 350, you said, um, I mean, just those simple parts that really go unnoticed, those parts that don't get the thank you they deserve, gave you so much more confidence on the track, and you're cutting off time. And it's maybe not, but could end up being a lifesaver, and stopping somebody from flying off the track in the wrong way. And it's just there are companies like these that do that type of work that most enthusiasts often ignore because they don't buy those parts, right? Everybody wants to buy go fast parts. You buy go fast parts, but you forget to buy brakes. You forget to buy the parts that actually, you know, put your feet back on the ground. And
Yep.
it's important. So I'm glad you brought that up and you had that story to tell, because it is um, it's really impactful. But I know there's so much more we can talk about, but we got to close it off here. RJ, I'm so glad you hopped on the show. I really appreciate it, because, this is one of those longer episodes, and I'm definitely going to have you back on here so we can continue this conversation and dig into other topics that you and I both are going to enjoy, because we've had so many off-camera conversations. And but yeah, is there anything you want, like any last message you want people to know about you or about Verus, or anything?
I think I just want to maybe give a message to the tuner community at large. One of the reasons that used cars have kept their value and have even been increasing in value is because there's something about used cars that's experiential that new cars don't give people. With that being said, if you do have a new car, um, don't limit yourself to the traditional ways of tuning the car, trying to extract more performance. A lot of these cars are really hard tuned from the factory. Look for solutions that solve problems. The moment I started tuning cars myself that way, I had a lot more fun taking my car to the track, and I had a lot less headaches blowing stuff up.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. If you're new here, please subscribe, smack that like button, and smash that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so please follow us there and give us a listen. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Later.